Hi guys, this is Ben from Island Computers. This is just a quick video to go over again the things you should be looking for when you're trying to buy a new computer. I get this question almost as much as being able to reinstall a printer, so that's why I've got a guide on my Facebook page literally just telling you what to look for, and most people have basically just taken that guide, they've gone to a shop and just said, look, this is what my tech guy has told me to get. What can you sort me out? Harvey Norman in Wonthaggi, the Harvey Normans in Mornington and in Fountain Gate, and also the JB Hi-Fis have all either met me or they know of me from this particular guide. So they should be competent enough to point you in the right direction. But there are obviously some things that you need to make sure you do get as a minimum. If you go below that, you're getting ripped off, or you're getting misadvised, which is why this guide exists. So I'll just it's going to look a bit weird because I've got a big screen. See what I mean? It's gigantic. Okay, so I'll zoom in as much as I can. Oh my god, I'm gonna have to sort this out. I bought myself an ultra wide monitor and it really hasn't helped with actually doing videos, unfortunately. But yes, this is my guide. I'll just put it in. Don't worry about the thing about Windows. Well, Windows 7 support ended in January 2020. So if you've still got a Windows 7 machine, why are you still using it? You know, you would have got messages almost incessantly from Microsoft saying, dude, it's not safe. Get this machine retired immediately. Retire this machine, get a new one. So I know, there's a cost perspective from there, but from a security perspective of having these Windows 7 machines on the internet, it literally is like firing a flare into the night sky. If you're using Windows 7, they know you're there. They know what you're using, especially if you're a few people that are still using things like Internet Explorer, which hasn't been safe for about 10 years, or Outlook Express, or Windows Live Mail, which support for that ended in July 2014, but I still see people using it. Oh, it's terrible. Or older versions of Microsoft Outlook as well. I think Windows 10 Mail's a bit rubbish. I don't really like it that much. So I prefer to use Microsoft Outlook when it behaves itself. But there's really no other option, for email from that side of things. Thunderbird is not supported. Use it at your own risk. Incredimail is malware, so definitely don't use that. You can use web browser, webmail, but most of them are rubbish. I mean, Gmail's okay, but and Outlook's okay, but you've got to be on the internet to get to your emails. So if your internet goes down, which does happen a lot here, then that's it. You won't have access to your emails. You're much better off just having it on your phone. So Windows 10 Mail is the best way to go with that one. Anyway, obviously all these machines are either Windows 10 Mail or it's Mac OS Big Sur is the latest version. So I think I've updated it for that. So things to look out for. Price wise, always go for something around $1,000. Don't go below that if you can help it, because you will end up compromising on something. So if it gives you more storage, it might give you a really bad processor, or it might give you less RAM, or you might have more RAM, but then the CPU will be rubbish. The processor, CPU, same thing. So there are some key things to look out for and some key brands to look out for. I mean, I don't actually have a specific number one preference for a manufacturer. However, the Asus VivoBooks, of which I've set up probably 20 of them recently, are so good. They are really, really good. Hats off to you, Asus. You have really hit the nail on the head with these ones. There's an all-metal body, including the bottom, which is very rare. It's usually a plastic base. And the only thing that a couple of people complained about was the fact that the enter key had a yellow or a green glowy thing around it, a little light around it. It's like, well, it's just one key. Don't worry about it. The rest of the machine is absolutely brilliant. The screen's great. It's made of metal or aluminium, so they're really good. Lenovo also have really picked up their game in recent years. They basically filled the gap where Toshiba, who left the commercial market and just are going for corporate sales now. So they filled that niche that Toshiba left, and they've really stepped up their game. Lenovo used to be IBM, so they used to have those keyboards with the stupid little nubbin thing in the middle, the red one, which used to come off every time you tried to clean it, and you'd lose it because it was made of rubber and it would just bounce off somewhere. Yeah, so Lenovo now do some great ones. Obviously Acer and HP do some really good machines too. Not as good, I would say, as Lenovo or as Asus, but they're still pretty good. Sony's machines are okay. Microsoft have tried to compete directly with Apple, so their prices are obscene, just like Apple's prices are obscene. And they are good machines, but you really have to look at paying about $2,000 compared to $1,000 for these other laptops, which a lot of the time, the specs of, say, an Asus VivoBook for around $1,000 is as good, if not better, than the equivalent Apple or Microsoft machine that's $2,000. It's your money, but I'd tell you where to put your money. Put it on a cheaper one. If it doesn't last, well, all right, you get another one. And then you've spent, $2,000, but you spent it on two machines over 7 or 8 years compared to one machine over 5 years. It's kind of up to you. I mean, obviously, I can't fault the build quality of either the Microsoft Surfaces or the Apple iMacs. They are really good, but yeah, Apple's Apple. They like to rip you off wherever they possibly can. So yeah, it's up to you. But this is specifically for Windows, really. There aren't any alternatives to the Mac OS. It's literally Apple or nothing. You don't want to go with anybody else. You don't want to be mad enough to buy a Windows machine and put the Mac OS on there. I've seen people do it. Why would you do that? Don't do it. Don't buy a Mac and put Windows on it either. What's wrong with you? A Mac is a Mac. You put the Mac OS on there. That's it. The one thing I would really, really like people to do, though, is update the Mac OS. How is it that people miss all these updates? I see machines, especially during the start of COVID, the first couple of weeks, I hardly slept at all. I had like 3 or 4 hours sleep a night because I had about 30 machines dumped on my desk in my office that were 10 or more years old that had an ancient version of the Mac OS, but they'd still be using them. They were still using them, and I was like, oh, okay, it's only got Mavericks on it. It's like, what? That's like 12 years old. What are you doing? You've got to update your machines. And that goes for Windows as well, which is annoying because the Windows 10 updates, they're not that great. But the Mac OS ones are important, and they are. And if you don't keep them up to date, then you suddenly find yourself too far back and you cannot update anymore. That's another sneaky thing that Apple do, where they make the other version. So if you're trying to update to Catalina, it will automatically take you to Big Sur. It'll push you. And if you've got a machine that's too old to actually run something like Big Sur, Catalina, or even Mojave, and you're trying to find the one before that, you won't be able to find it. You won't be able to download it. They'll just basically bounce you to another site, the newest version. And of course, Apple's response to that is, oh, your machine's too old to run this. Probably time to get a new machine, isn't it? Which is a classic tactic for Apple with their phones as well. Anyway, so brands to look out for: Asus, Lenovo, Acer, HP, Apple, Microsoft. Do not touch Dell, ever. Dell do a sneaky thing, and when I worked for CSC in Melbourne, we basically cancelled our support contract with them, and we went with Lenovo, funnily enough. And the problem with Dell is that they rely very much on the fact that they will have their support contracts, and they'll have their technicians come in to fix the parts that have gone wrong. However, they'd always buy parts that would break sooner, so that they'd keep that rollover of their technicians coming in to replace a DVD drive, or the hard drives died, so they'd get a new one for it, or the CPU fan stopped working. And it's literally because they do what we call do a Sony, and they put dodgy parts in that were going to die faster than the other ones. So don't touch Dell. CPUs, well, you've got two camps. You've got the red camp, which is AMD, and you've got the green camp. No, sorry, not the green camp, the blue camp, which is Intel. Both CPUs are okay, but AMD are kicking Intel's butt at the moment with their Ryzen processors, even with COVID and the limited amount of chips that are available. So AMD Ryzen is definitely preferred, and there's a fifth gen now. This says fourth gen, but there's actually the fifth gen or 5000 series, the fourth or the third. Any of them, even the third generation, kicks the butt of the present Intel 11th generation. It really does. So Intel's okay, but AMD is preferred. If you do go for an Intel processor, you've basically got, in both camps, you've got three different flavors, as it were, for sort of standard CPUs. A bit like, let's say the i3, which is the budget one, the i5, which is the mid-range, and the i7, which is the performance range. So it's the same for AMD as well. They've got the 3, 5s and the 7s, and then there's a 9, but you don't need to worry about that. So with the Intel ones, you'll probably want to go for the 5. Don't go for the budget. Go for the mid-range CPU, and then go for one that's at least 2 gigahertz or higher. If it goes below 2 gigahertz, like I've seen some people buy ones that go at 1.1 or 1.2 gigahertz, you'll have problems running files. You might have problems installing an antivirus program because it will say your CPU's crap. Sorry, we can't install. It's not good enough. So make sure that the CPU speed is quite high. So things to avoid with Intel, things to avoid with the AMD is the Athlon processor. Used to be great 20 years ago, not anymore. The Intel processors, avoid Pentiums and Celerons. Both of those, don't touch them with a 10 meter cattle prod. It's not worth it. RAM, so your oomph in your machine. 8 gigs minimum, 16 gigs preferred, but you're looking at $1,500 if you start pushing into that sort of 16 gig category. Most people don't need 16 gig or 32 for that matter, even if they are trying to run games. But if you're trying to run games on a laptop, well, then you buy a gaming laptop and it costs you $2,000. There you go. Solid state drives are the new storage medium, as it were, instead of hard drives. Hard disk drives are gone. They're the way of the dodo now. Don't touch anything that has a hard drive in it. If it says HDD, don't touch it. Walk away, find another one. So the solid state drive, the minimum size is 250 gig. If anyone tries to offer you something with 120 gig in it, refuse it. Just say, nah, it's not big enough. Windows on its own takes up 40 gigs worth of space. 40 gig. And it usually retains the last version that it installed. So that's about 60 to 80 gigs worth of space just gone right there. So you need a minimum of 256 or 250. 500 gig is preferred, but it was still sort of shaky on the amount of machines that have 500 gig on them. I've just seen a pretty good HP Pavilion all-in-one machine, which is a 27-inch. And that has a 512 gig SSD in it, only 8 gig of RAM, but it's got an AMD Ryzen mid-range model, and it's only $1,100 at the moment at JB Hi-Fi. It's got $200 off, so that's a good one to get because you can put lots of photos on there. You don't have to have a USB stick or a USB hard drive plugged in to store everything on it, which is not a good way to do things. You're much better off having everything on the machine and a backup somewhere else. Oh. Thanks for that notification. Right. So yes, CPU, AMD Ryzen, Intel i5, Core i5, RAM, 8 gigs of RAM, 250 gig SSD, no hard drive. The OS is Windows 10. The latest version of Windows 10 is called 20H2, which was 20, I don't know, second quarter of 2000 or second half of 2020. 21H2 comes out fairly soon, I think. And obviously with the Mac OS, the latest version is Big Sur, but you could choose Mojave or Catalina. Doesn't matter. It's okay as long as you update it once you get it. And yeah, $1,000. So you may not be able to read my information here, but this is how I feel about Apple. Price. Apple. Leave your car keys. You may be walking home. Anyway, so things like your keyboard layout are probably the only other thing I would recommend you think about. Look at the keyboard and see where the buttons are, especially things like the insert, home, page up, page down, and the arrow keys on the right hand side. If it's got a numpad, some manufacturers like Acer remove the top right button, which is usually the minus button, and they put the power button there. So then all the other keys get shifted along one. So you might find that when you're trying to go upwards to hit the delete key, you actually hit home. So if you're in a Word document, that can be a bit annoying. And I found it to be a bit of a problem when I've been setting up people's machines, and you just go bang and naturally just tap that key and you go, oh geez, not again. So you have to go back to where you were before. So just bear that in mind. Keyboard layout. Sorry, I've got a bit of a cold. Shouldn't be doing a a video, but I wanted to because I've got the time to do it. Google Chromebooks, I just don't like them. I don't think they're that good. It's basically a glorified tablet, which is okay in its own right. But look, if you're going to get a Chromebook, just get a Samsung Galaxy Tab. You know, $300 for a decent Samsung tablet, or a Google Slate if you want to go for that. That's about $500. Or you get an iPad for $500 to $1,000. But, you know, if you're going to do that, you might as well get a laptop if you need a keyboard. If you don't need a keyboard, then why are you looking at a laptop? Just get a tablet. And honestly, just get a $300 Samsung Galaxy Tab. That's it's just that much easier. You can even put a Bluetooth keyboard on there. So don't feel that you can't use you have to use the screen keyboard. You can get a Bluetooth keyboard that just sort of clips in. And then you just type on there. Obviously it's a lot smaller, but hey, if you want a small, compact, really, really nice Windows notebook, then get a Microsoft Surface. But you will be paying $1,500 to $2,000 instead of just that $1,000 sweet spot. All right, so yeah, that's it. That's my guide. Obviously, I posted this back in July, or reposted it. July 2020. I'm going to update it so it's got the latest version of the Mac OS on there, Big Sur, and I hope you find what you're looking for. Good hunting, good places to look, as I said in here, is JB Hi-Fi, Harvey Norman, the Good Guys and Officeworks. I'd also like to add Kogan to that. They have the Asus Vivo books on special at the moment for about $1,100. So Kogan, don't discount them. Their delivery is really good too. It's quite cheap, usually only about $10, and it takes maybe 3 days to get delivered. I had a customer who ordered a machine from JB Hi-Fi. He got it the next day. So these two guys, Harvey Norman, Harvey Norman have got a problem. Depending on where it is, it might come from the Gold Coast, or it might come from South Australia, and then it has this run around all over the place where it goes to Avalon to their secure sterilization facility, and then of course if it's coming to us on Phillip Island, it goes from Avalon, out to Morwell or Traralgon, and then it comes down to us. I've actually seen it go back to Avalon before. No idea why, but it just went, oh yeah, go the other way. And then 3 days later it turned up. So JB Hi-Fi, Kogan, they're my go-to. Or you just go and get one. You drive to Fountain Gate, or you go to Wonthaggi and grab what they've got there. Yes, anyway, I'll stop prattling on. There we go. This is my buyer's guide. I hope this video helps. Any questions? Obviously, either leave a comment in the video or get in touch with me through my Facebook page, or give me a ring on my mobile, which is also on my Facebook page. Cheers. All the best.